saw a sign in the sky. I'm ready. Maui. Nita.
So we got another Predator movie, and yeah, and it was awesome. So this is the first movie in the Predator series that does not have the word Predator in the title, which, I liked that. But if you look at the logo, even though it says Prey, you can clearly tell what the logo is, and it's like, I see what it is. It's another Predator movie. And it also would help. It didn't help that they actually flat out said, "Oh yeah, it's another Predator movie." And it's just like, well, if you are a fan of Predator, you could tell. So yeah. What a way to spoil the surprise. So when I heard this was coming out, I immediately was going, oh no, not another Predator movie, because the original is the best one. It's one of the greatest action movies, not of the 80s, but of all time. Two, Alien versus Predator. It's got the Paul W. Sanderson format on top of it, and I'm just like, whatever on it. And then Requiem came out, and it was like, wow. So a couple years before, you guys gave us a PG-13 rated Alien and Predator movie, and when you go back to an R rating, it turns out worse. Like, wow, how did that happen? And then we got the Predator with Shane Black returning from the original to come back and be a part of the Predator series again. And yeah, it's been mostly bad series than a good series. I did like Predators. I have flaws with it, but it's a fun movie, and it definitely switches the formula on the original, where the original was like this creature is on our territory, but in Predators, it's like we're on its territory. So it's like, uh-oh. So when I heard they were doing another Predator movie, I was immediately going like, oh boy, this is not really going to be good. Then it was announced who's directing it, and I immediately perked up. I forget his name, but I know he did 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I really liked. I don't care that a lot of people said that the ending ruined the movie. I don't care. I kind of liked the ending. I understand it kind of came out of place, but I don't care because I really like that movie. So when it was announced that he was directing this movie, I was immediately going, okay, like, all right, I'll see what, when footage comes out, I'll see how I feel. Then I saw the trailer and I went, ooh, okay. Like, all right, I'm getting excited for this. And then it was at Comic-Con where they did a secret screening where they screened the movie and everyone went crazy because they were like, oh my God, this is so good. And I was just on Twitter and on social media, and I was just hearing people going, this is the best Predator sequel this is the best Predator movie since the original. And it's like, okay, like, all right, but I'll see it for myself. And I watched it the day it came out, and I was like, yes, that's true. This is the best one since the original. If I discount the original, this is my favorite. This one starts out in 1719, and you have the Predator fighting Indians. and it's like, okay, let's see what happens. And I will say this: the first 20 minutes, it's a little bit slow, but then also kind of like with 10 Cloverfield Lane, it was a little bit slow, and then it picked up. But that 20 minutes in that movie was very necessary to get you to the point where it starts picking up. So the 20 minutes in this, where it is a bit slow, it's setting up the characters, it's setting up the locations, it's setting up the situation that they're in. And then when stuff happens, it's like, okay, now here you go. So if you are a bit picky about slowness, you might start picking at the first 20 minutes. But then when it starts getting into the mystery of like what's happening in the woods, and they start like showing stuff, that's like, oh, okay. And I looked up why the movie is rated R, and it specifically said for strong bloody violence. And I was like, okay, and that was it. And then when the predator shows up, he is brutal, like absolutely brutal. Like there were so many moments where I was like, oh, like I was not expecting him to just go as violent as it was. Yeah, the original is pretty bloody. This is either on that same level or tops that. But then also, again, that was the 80s, and a movie, that was the 87 was the original. It was the late 80s, that's when kind of the MPAA was very picky about showing, stuff. But then that was also a movie that was released in theaters. This is a movie that's straight to streaming, and it's specifically for Hulu. So they can do a little bit more, but also times have changed too. That was the late 80s. We're now in the early 2020s. So times have changed, but yeah, when the predator shows up, it's like, dude, okay, this is really cool. And what's even funny too is that if you watch like any like typical action movie and you're introduced to a character, you can immediately pick out like, okay, you're gonna die, you're totally gonna die, you may live but then die. They do that in this movie, and it's kind of fun, because sometimes I was right, like especially when a whole bunch of I'm just gonna say it, a whole bunch of white people showed up. I'm like, all of you are screwed. and it's awesome. Yeah, it's very much, a lot of people were saying like, I don't think I liked this more than 10 Cloverfield Lane. I'm like, what? They're two very different movies. Like 10 Cloverfield Lane is a survival Hitchcock movie. It's a survival thriller movie. This is a survival action movie. So two very different things. And in 10 Cloverfield Lane, when it did kind of change its tone during the third act and did become a little bit more action, I was like, okay, the action parts are done pretty good. And this, it blows that out of the water. Like there's so many things the Predator does, that just how to kill people. It's like, ooh boy. Like he has darts, he has a shield, and especially I think the one that got me the most, a net. I'm not going to say it. You have to see it for yourself. And so I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The problem is, because it's on streaming, if they do a physical release of this, kind of like what Netflix did a little bit when they were releasing Stranger Things, if Hulu decides to do that, then I'll totally buy this on Blu-ray. They may do it because it's still a 20th Century Studios movie. It's still, even though it's been changed even though 20th Century has been changed from Fox to Studios for a couple years now, it's still a bit weird. It's just like, I still remember when I watched The New Mutants and that popped up on screen. I'm like, oh, that just looks wrong. And I was like, all right, it's time for 20th Century. Oh my God, that looks wrong. So it's, and what's funny too is I don't even say Studios. I just say 20th Century. Or I just say post Fox or whatever. But the moral of the story is this was a very good prequel to Predator. I thoroughly enjoy the movie. I think it is the best out of all the sequels. And yeah, not as good as the original, but way better than the sequels. And what I wish they did now with Predator is each sequel, if they want to continue doing sequels, set each one in a different time period. Like, one can be in the American Revolutionary War, one could be in World War II, one could be in the Civil War, one could be World War I, in different time periods. And I think that would be pretty cool. Kind of like an anthology series, but having the same name, basically. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoy this. It gets a great. I think this is one of the best films I've seen this year so far. So yeah, just go watch it. It's a blast.